Welcome back to another episode of the Growth Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Noonan, and today's episode is all about finding a path to healing and growth in the aftermath of trauma. If you've been tuning in for a while, you know that this podcast is dedicated to the power of mindset, resilience, and flourishing in our lives. Whether you're navigating your own journey or supporting someone you care about, my goal is to help you embrace the growth potential, even in the hardest of times. Today we're diving into a fascinating concept called post-traumatic growth, or PTG, and how it's connected to the PERMA model. If you've never heard of PTG before, don't worry. We'll break it down in a way that's easy to understand and really practical. I'm going to share a bit about my own experiences, my family history, and how this model can guide us to live flourishing lives after trauma. So let's get started. First off, let's talk about what post-traumatic growth actually means. PTG is the idea that after experiencing trauma, people can go through a process of positive change. It's not just about bouncing back to where we were before the trauma, but rather growing beyond what we thought was possible. PTG is a term used to describe the profound transformation that can occur after facing challenges like loss, abuse, natural disasters, or other significant hardships. Now, this doesn't mean that trauma is good or that it should happen, but it highlights that through the right tools, mindset, and support, we can turn pain into a path for deeper strength, meaning, and fulfillment. Let's make this more tangible with an example. Think about someone who goes through a traumatic event, like the death of a loved one. In the midst of the grief, they might experience emotional, mental, and even physical changes. But through time, therapy, reflection, or spiritual practices, they can come to see the event differently. It might deepen their sense of purpose, improve their relationships, or give them a newfound strength that they didn't have before. This is where the PERMA model comes in. It's a framework created by psychologist Martin Seligman, which stands for 5 key elements that contribute to well-being and happiness. It's a great model to use when thinking about PTG because it helps guide us in how we can grow after adversity. Here's what the letters stand for. P is positive emotion. This is all about experiencing joy, gratitude, and other positive feelings in our lives. Even after trauma, people who practice gratitude or focus on positive emotions tend to have greater well-being and can shift their mindset from surviving to thriving. E is for engagement. Engagement refers to being deeply involved in meaningful activities. Whether it's work, hobbies, or relationships, engagement means getting lost in something that absorbs us fully. R is for relationships. This is the social part. Strong relationships are a huge predictor of well-being. Whether it's family, friends, or community, meaningful connections help us navigate difficult times and rebuild after trauma. M is for meaning. Meaning is the purpose we find in our lives. After a traumatic experience, some people find greater meaning in their lives by helping others or by discovering new ways to live aligned with their values. And finally, A is for accomplishment. Accomplishment is about setting and achieving goals, big or small. Even after trauma, we can rebuild confidence and regain a sense of control by achieving things that are important to us. So, the PERMA model is a great way to frame PTG because it shows us the areas of life that we can focus on and improve in order to grow. The idea is that by cultivating these 5 elements, we can move beyond just surviving trauma and actually flourish. Now, I want to share a bit about my own journey and how these elements of the PERMA model have played a role in my life. I'm an only child. Growing up, I was diagnosed with ADHD, which presented its own set of challenges. I had to work harder to stay focused, and stress often felt overwhelming. But things really came to a head for me in high school, when I stopped playing varsity basketball due to a toxic relationship with my coach. Basketball was my passion, and suddenly it felt like the one thing that gave me purpose was taken away. I spiraled into a really low place. For 2 years, I didn't play basketball at all. It was one of the hardest times of my life, and I didn't know how to move forward. But when I transferred to Sacramento State as a junior, I decided to just shoot around at the basketball court. Nothing serious, just to feel the ball in my hands again. That one small step led to something big. A few weeks later, I got recruited to play intramural basketball and I leaped to join the team. I remember calling my parents, telling them about it, and they were so supportive. That moment marked the start of my rebirth in basketball. I began playing pickup games, and it wasn't just about basketball anymore. It was about reclaiming something that felt lost, rediscovering my joy, and connecting with people again. Over the next few months, I grew more resilient and reconnected to my sense of accomplishment. Let's break down how the PERMA model fits into my story of recovery and growth. Positive emotion. The joy of playing basketball again brought me back to a sense of excitement, laughter, and fun, things I had lost for a while. It helped me reconnect to my ability to experience happiness in the midst of challenges. Engagement. Basketball became something I could be fully engaged in. Whether it was pickup games or intramural, I was focused in the moment and doing something that felt deeply meaningful to me. Relationships. Through playing basketball, I met new people, formed new relationships, and reconnected with old ones. The support of my family and my teammates was critical to my recovery. This is a key component of PTG, having people around who support and uplift you through the journey. Meaning, reclaiming basketball and playing it again gave me a sense of purpose. I wasn't just trying to return to an old self. I was finding new meaning in how I related to my body, to the sport, and to my resilience. Accomplishment. The sense of achievement I felt from joining the intramural league, practicing consistently and getting better at the game was immense. It helped rebuild my self-confidence after a time when I felt completely defeated. To bring a more academic perspective into this, let's take a look at some research. In a recent study titled Child Maltreatment and Post-Traumatic Growth, Implications for the Well-Being of Young Adults, researchers explored how self-efficacy and self-resilience play a major role in PTG. Self-efficacy, or the belief in our ability to influence the events in our lives, is a crucial factor in how we recover from trauma. The study suggests that when individuals believe they can overcome obstacles and have control over their recovery, they are more likely to experience growth after trauma. This directly ties into the PERMA model, especially the components of engagement, accomplishment, and meaning. By building self-efficacy, believing we can act and change, we boost our overall well-being and capacity for growth. In conclusion, the PERMA model offers a powerful framework for anyone seeking growth after trauma. It's not just about surviving, but about flourishing. By focusing on positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment, we can guide ourselves through the path of recovery and build a life that is not only about healing, but about thriving. Whether you're dealing with personal trauma or supporting someone who is, remember that growth is possible. It takes time, effort, and sometimes a whole new mindset. But using the PERMA model as a guide can help us all move towards flourishing in the aftermath of adversity. Thank you so much for joining me on the Growth Mindset podcast today. I hope today's episode inspired you to reflect on your own journey and maybe see where you could apply some of these principles to move forward. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Until next time, take care and keep growing.